This review is going to come across as a bit of a contradiction. And why? Well, because for the first 90 or so minutes of the film, I thought this was going to be the best horror movie of 2024. There was a real opportunity here to discuss something serious with this movie, but instead, it just took the easy way out. I love Joko Anwar films, but I usually dislike the way he ends his movies. Satan's Slaves 2 was brilliant, but the ending was a bit of a confusing mess. Impetigore was so creepy and full of tension, but then it ended with an implication of a sequel. Probably the only horror film of his that I thought had an absolutely awesome ending was The Forbidden Door. But that's how I feel about this film. There was a real opportunity to discuss the linkages between religious radicalization and terrorism in exploring someone's faith and their connections to religion. And most importantly, there should have been an emphasis that, if you're religious, God should be loved and not feared. After her parents are killed by a suicide bomber who is carrying out the actions in the name of religion, Sita discovers a recording left behind by the terrorist. The recording purports to be the sounds of a grave torture, where the body of a sinner is tortured by the angels of hell in the grave for their misdeeds in real life. Desperate to disprove that grave torture exists, she finds the most evil person in her world, a man responsible for sodomizing dozens of young boys, including her brother, and buries herself alongside him with a video camera when he dies. Her intention is that the recording will be blank. Now, religion is a very testy subject, and I realize that I am potentially about to poke a bear that I don't really want to poke, but I feel that there needs to be an alternative perspective to this film. The obvious caveat here is that I'm not Muslim, and thus my beliefs are different to the characters in this film. However, I am partly religious, so there is a bit of an element of familiarity with some of the concepts here. But as a citizen of the world, I can be critical of using religion as a form of violence. And I honestly thought that this movie was going to explore that theme and attempt to provide some rationale about why it's a bad thing. But in the end, the movie just seems to reinforce that concept. And that's where I feel it missed its opportunity. I believe Sita should have had a spiritual reawakening and reconnected with her faith and religion, but the way it's done just left a bad taste in my mouth. And it won't do anything to change people's perception of religion. The real shame about that is that the movie's brilliant. The first hour or so of world building is some of the finest Anwar has ever done. From the opening scene, which appears to be one long take until the incident occurs, to the scene in a tunnel where we first learn about hallucinations. The movie just builds and builds and builds its world so effortlessly. We understand Sita's disconnection with religion, and we, the audience, ride along with her as she plots her revenge. We see how religion consumes her life, from her relationships with her brother and with Wahyu. And then I love the way that Anwar starts to get the audience to question what's going on in the film after the burial scene. There's some fabulous and suitably unsettling music used. A kind of industrial grunge music that's very similar in style to the game Silent Hill. And the horror really kicks in after this point. Indeed, one of the best death scenes I've ever seen in Indonesian horror cinema involves the washing machine. But the movie chose to take the easy way out and just solidify its message rather than subvert it and give the audience something to think about. Just like a similar movie called Siksa Neraka, also known as Hell Torture, that also came out this year, the movie decides to hit the audience on the head with a heavy fear hammer rather than leaving them with something to ponder. If this movie had ended 20 minutes earlier, this would have been a clear 5 out of 5 and my 2024 horror movie of the year. It would have been just utterly brilliant. But unfortunately, that's not what the movie did. Using my patent-pending ghost rating, which stands for great horror or stupid trash, this movie gets 3 ghosts. This is a tough rating because I wanted to give this a lower score, but I felt it would have been unfair to ignore the first 90 minutes of the movie and how brilliant that was. But the ending is just a big letdown. And yes, the ending stopped this film from probably being the best horror movie of the year. But Joko Anwar is still a genius, and I will still look forward to any new movie that he is coming out. I am the Rahadian. You are watching SHOCKMANIA. Thank you for tuning in. As always, I want to know your opinion of both this movie and of my review, so leave a comment down below. Otherwise, I will catch you next time.